The infliction of intense pain to punish, coerce, or afford sadistic pleasure. This is the dictionary definition of the word torture. But if you were to ask anyone who was unfortunate enough to watch Starfleet Academy about their experience, they would likely use the exact same description. It's a show that is so terrible, it wouldn't come as a shock if it was currently being used to interrogate prisoners of war. And one can only hope that eventually the International Criminal Court determines that it's so inhumane it gets erased from existence to avoid anyone being subjected to it going forward. So horrid, in fact, that when viewed from the very first scene, it's nearly impossible to believe that with every ticking minute, it just continues to get worse. But just when you think it's hit rock bottom, it somehow figures out a way to burrow even further into the bedrock and find a new layer of shit to call home. So buckle up and down the hardest thing you have in your liquor cabinet, because it's time to finish this fucking nightmare once and for all. On today's installment of Special Needs Academy, it turns out that the campus is closed for All Worlds Day, a holiday where all of the students need to go to various cities on Earth for some reason. Why the fuck it's called All Worlds Day is anyone's guess, as none of them are actually traveling anywhere except for the planet that they're already on. You'd think an event called All Worlds Day would involve, all of the members of the Federation, and might actually serve a purpose for the cadets understanding the other member systems, rather than what essentially amounts to spring break. But hell, we're only 2 minutes into the episode, let's not spend too much time harping on this retardation when there's so much more left to get to. Caleb is sitting in the atrium trying to compose a message for Tarima, who was taken back to Beta Z to recover. He fills her in on what's happened since the USS Studio Ghibli references incident and lets her know that they're all trying to move forward. Nala is specifically handling it in a way that I'd assume most college administrators deal with things, by getting blitz drunk on a daily basis. Caleb also mentions that he's being sent to stay with a random family, a concept that he utterly despises. He caps off the transmission by letting her know that despite everything, she's still on his mind.
No shit.
Dude, you screwed her and then she nearly died to save you. If you were not thinking of her, that would put you into fucked up villain territory. But after all that effort, this asshole doesn't even hit send and just deletes that shit. As the other cadets are being transported to their various destinations.
Duluth, can I talk you out of this?
We are told that Genesis is being sent to see her father. Because we can't get through a fucking episode without her mentioning him at least once. And that Sam is being sent to hologram experts to evaluate her glitching issues.
Just think of me as going to a spa.
Not really sure why they waited so long to address her problems. The physical ones, not the personality ones. Those are likely hard-coded. But what's even more curious is that even though she's having these occurrences, she still found the time to change her appearance for no apparent reason.
What has happened to your hair?
As you probably know, up to this point I called her drumsticks because she had two frizzy-looking pom-pom bullshit sticking out of the top of her head that vaguely resembled blackened chicken.
That's racist.
But now she is seemingly upgraded to having 2 strings of anal beads instead, so that's what I'm gonna call her going forward. Before Eyebrows can leave, she is pulled to the side by Nala, who tells her that she will be personally nominating her for the command track due to her contributions during the Miyazaki incident. Which, might I remind you, were her staring at a monitor and pointing out an empty section of space too late to save everyone.
Your dad was right. You are useless.
Eyebrows is understandably excited. That is until she's told that they will be reviewing her file and touching base with all of her references. Nala then sends her best to Eyebrows' dad. Based on the smut in her personnel file, how much you want to bet that "tell your dad I said hi" comes with some history behind it?
You the dumb hoe.
By the way, one thing that keeps being said over and over again is some student's pet keeps disappearing.
Specialist Krebs, your Talaxian fur fly is attacking the lab technician.
At this point, they're not even trying to hide the fact they want this to be Harry Potter. Well, as that obvious reference to Neville Longbottom plays out, Darum runs into Jaden Smith, who is trying to convince himself to put on a Hawaiian shirt that Kyle bought him for their trip to Ibiza, even though that's in the Mediterranean. Darum tells Jaden that if he doesn't like the shirt, he could just not go on the trip, but the latter says Kyle is the one who suffered a real loss when Bobby was killed. Not really sure how they went from tacky shirt to murder. Talk about a fucking depressing rabbit hole.
I really think this shirt clashes with my braids.
You could just not go on the trip if you don't like the shirt.
Yeah, but a guy died, though.
Even though he acts like a jealous ex for no goddamn reason, Darum still wishes them well.
I don't think Darum likes me.
No one likes Darum.
Why, exactly? I mean, I get that he's abrasive and kind of dude bro-ish at times, but he literally nearly died for people and has consistently shown that when push comes to shove, he has everyone's back. In spite of the horrible word assembly, he has actually shown some character growth, though that was likely unintentional. Unlike Caleb, who seems to be stuck in the same loop since the first episode.
You're either gonna have to forgive me for not asking Noose Braca about your mother, or get over it.
You could have forced him. You could have threatened him.
With what? Her fucking bunions? I really don't defend Nala much in this series, but this is so fucking stupid that I have to. She was negotiating with a wanted criminal to save you and your buddy's asses. One who specifically hates her with a goddamn passion. Also, as eventually proven, Noose was lying the whole time. Even if she did get the info you're looking for, there was about a negative 99% chance it wouldn't have been the truth anyway. Why is the character who can literally hack any system, knows every Federation bylaw, and survived on the streets from a young age written like the single dumbest motherfucker in Star Trek history? Even though she should be dumbfounded by his sheer idiocy, Nala vows to search for his mother while he's on his trip to Dakar, which is the capital of Senegal, meaning they decided to send the black kid back to Africa. No. Nothing is required to make that funny. No need to waste a clip. Shitty writing aside, I will give the actor credit. From time to time, Caleb's lines actually do hit.
It always does.
You got like 4 pairs of boots in here. You don't even wear shoes.
But that's due to the charisma of the actor, and honestly, it's the only thing keeping the character from being completely insufferable. Especially when he's always refusing to do things he's told simply to be the rebel. For instance, like rejecting the invitation from the family in Senegal because he doesn't want to be viewed as a charity case. For context, in 2025, Senegal was ranked 161st out of 193 economies for per capita GDP, and was in the top 25 for foreign aid disbursement. Rather than trying to explain per capita to this moron, Nala just agrees to allow him to stay at the school by himself for 4 days, restricting him to his room and the mess hall as he will be locked out of everything else. Not like he's a proven computer savant or anything. What could possibly go wrong here? She also asks about Tarima, but the only update he's gotten was from Occam some time ago that she's still in a coma and recovering on Beta Z. He's gotten no further info and has no clue how to help or even be there for her. It's almost like sending that fucking transmission would have fixed some of this, or better yet, instead of asking to spend 4 days break here alone jerking off, maybe, I don't know, go to Beta Z instead? Just a goddamn thought.
Have fun. Don't break anything.
If I break it, I fix it. You'll never know.
You know, I was a teenager once, and they know. They always know. Darum is headed to his room when he notices a random stone that's sort of out of place. Which of course, as we all know, means that masked assailants are gonna ninja the fuck out of nowhere and begin to kidnap him. You know, the old tried and true ceremonial rock throw before an abduction. A trope as old as time. But wouldn't you know it, Jaden Smith just happens to choose now to walk here as well.
You're kidding, what a crazy random happenstance.
After standing there like a shithead until Darum is practically completely pulled through a portal, he finally decides to actually do something and runs after them. Because the word assemblers don't understand the concepts of suspense or tension, we are told that Jaden has emerged in the Kyonian realm, which pretty much immediately removes the minuscule amount of stakes the scene previously had. But it continues as if we, the audience, are unaware that we just arrived at his home. But let's just pretend for a moment that this wasn't written in crayon and operate under the assumption that Darum is actually in danger. Jaden sneaks around and comes across a pavilion. He jumps out to engage, but instead of getting into a fight, it turns out he has horribly misread the situation.
What the fuck?
As it turns out, and completely unbeknownst to us the audience, this is actually Darum's home planet. Holy shit, what a shocker! To be more precise, it's actually one of its moons. And considering that up to this point, Jaden has only ever curled up in the fetal position whenever a fight is broken out, it's a shame that we don't get to see this. Not because he's gonna be a good fighter or anything, I mean, just look at him. It just kinda sucks that we won't get to see the unintentional comedy of him trying to throw a punch. But it likely would have gone something like this.
I slap you! I slap you! I slap you!
In order to break up the awkwardness of all of that, Darum introduces Jaden as his cosign, which is basically his best man, even though Jaden isn't close to the best and is barely a man.
Man, that's just mean! That's mean, man!
If you recall in the previous video, we deduced that this show's target demographic is actually women who don't give a shit about Star Trek in the slightest. So of course they have once again marched out a shirtless and shredded Caleb who is somehow sunbathing indoors. I'm not exactly sure how this dude has gotten more jacked in each episode, but Chipotle really needs to get Sandro Rosta on the phone and offer him a spokesperson deal for their high-protein menu. As he's catching his rays, all of a sudden his son is blocked by Eyebrows, who apparently never actually went on the trip because, you know, fuck her dad.
He got invited to do a symposium on Ursa Nowhere.
To do a little, illicit hacking.
I was getting a jump on research for my spring term paper.
Hacked in so you could come back and do homework?
Says the guy who's pulling a D in exochemistry because he's sleeping through it.
Shit, his girlfriend's in a coma. On another planet. Hell, under those circumstances, I'd be pulling a D in exochemistry as well. And calculus. History. Phys ed.
A few moments later.
During free period, before lunch, after lunch.
3 hours later.
At the movies, the car wash, in church.
Get on with it! Yes! Get on with it!
Anyway, Eyebrows asks Caleb if his plans were to literally sit around in his underwear and stage dot fights. Which, to tell you the truth, doesn't sound half bad, considering I once spent an entire August watching old BattleBots episodes on YouTube drunk off my ass on cheap tequila. Genesis tells Caleb to put on a shirt.
There goes our last female.
Because she has a better idea of how they could spend their time.
Ever play toxic or non-toxic?
While those two are headed to play a game which is surely the most retarded thing you'll ever see, Jaden and Darum are arguing over the fact that because of the absolutely brain-dead way that Darum's friends came to get him for his own wedding, Jaden is now missing his trip with Kyle. Which means he doesn't need to wear that shirt. I would also like to point out that in the previous video I begged that they not make Kyle just another gay character, and clearly that went completely unnoticed.
Homophobe alert!
But one thing that you likely have noticed is the little fact that this moon is drier than Hillary Clinton's vagina. Why the fuck would this be the location of an incredibly important ceremony of aquatic matrimony for a species of fish people? This would be like if, There is no metaphor that I could possibly make that is dumber than marine life getting married in a desert. But we all know that the real reason is because this show blew its budget on other stupid shit and making a CGI water planet cost too much money. It's the same reason we only saw Darum's fish form for 2 scenes and haven't since. Darum explains that he's been betrothed since a young age, but was granted the ability to join Starfleet for a few years before officially tying the knot. But that the timeline has been bumped up for reasons he's not quite sure of. Though he reiterates that for the good of his race he will go through with it, because other than the obligations, he's marrying his best friend who just happens to be a princess.
That's all we needed. A Druish princess.
It's kind of weird that Starfleet Academy accepted a cadet that literally had no intention of serving out his time after graduation, though. And all because he has to marry some chick that he didn't choose. Knowing how this show casts its women, she's gonna be...
Bucktooth, knock-kneed,
Fierce-willing pigs!
horse-face, space dog!
Well, hello. You don't look anything like I expected. You're actually kinda hot. So, like, you got any sisters? Because ever since seeing The Little Mermaid as a kid, I'm kind of curious about if you insert the 20 minutes with a... Might be a little shrinkage due to the temperature of the water, but that shouldn't stop me from... while wearing fishnet stockings.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Anyway, Sexy Fish Girl says that it means a lot that Jaden is there for Darum.
Well, I could not decline, even if I wanted to.
We are also introduced to Kyara's they-them cosign, who gets a name, but honestly I'm not even sure if it's worth mentioning. Remember how Caleb and Eyebrows went to go play toxic or non-toxic?
No, not really.
Well, it's just as retarded as we anticipated, as it consists of 2 grown adults, one of whom is being considered for fast-tracking right into the captain's chair, both reaching into jars of unknown substances and creatures from the science lab. All in order to determine whether or not, you guessed it, they are toxic or non-toxic. The future of Starfleet.
What a fucking waste.
Genesis finally broaches the subject of Terima, and Caleb says that he will probably go see her after all the important shit he had planned for the holiday is done. But just as he might be realizing that he's a moron and should just go now, he's stung by something in the jar which makes his ears blow up, making him look like Will Smith circa 1992. Oh! And in what should be an advertisement for the advocation of removing safety labels, Genesis shoots him up with antitoxins and we're shown exactly what bit him.
It's escaping.
It's a slug, it's not exactly warp capable.
We are so fucked.
Back on the low-budget version of Arrakis, which honestly could just be Utah for all we fucking know, Darum asks Kyara why their wedding has been bumped up so much.
My mother had a health scare. She's fine. They both decided that they would abdicate early.
So since her parents want to retire to Florida, that means she needs to be the new queen and Darum her king consort. As the conversation progresses, Darum wonders if Kyara is ready, as he's not so sure himself. But because you know it's such a difficult choice between being a special needs student for Starfleet or a king who's banging the hottest fish lady we've ever seen, she allows him some time to think about it.
I'll have to think about it, yes.
Just saying, I'll figure out how spawning pools work if he's not down, because I'm always willing to go down. And at least you have an excuse for why it smells like fish. Also, by the way, you should probably know he's trying to bang dudes off at college. He's clearly in his experimental phase, if you know what I mean.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
Speaking of the Vanguard School for Mentally Deficient Future Officers, Eyebrows and Caleb are trying to catch the slug from Turbo when who should waltz in but Tig Retardo, who apparently broke her toe in the dumbest way possible.
I felt like testing the impact door.
The present of Starfleet.
What a joke.
As the 2 other invalids hide from her, they notice that the slug which they had frozen directly above Tig's head is starting to drip slime. But because she's distracted by Laura, who's in peak stupidity form...
Rena? Yes? Are you still alive? I can't live without you!
Tig doesn't notice long enough for them to freeze the drip right before she gets slurmed. After Tig's toe is fixed, Eyebrows and Caleb opt not to even bother getting the slug and instead exchange flirty looks because there aren't enough love triangles in this show already. The only one not trying to fuck anyone is the hologram, but give it time, they will figure out how to make her gay too.
I don't even want to know!
So remember how Darren was telling Jaden he could simply not wear the shirt or go on the trip he didn't want to?
No, and I don't care.
Well, Jaden tries to play an Uno reverse card and use that same exact argument for a royal marriage that was ordained decades prior. Because not wanting to wear something from the Tommy Bahama collection is totally comparable to completely destabilizing a monarchy. Darren does the thing that anyone with half a brain would do in this situation, and that is to completely ignore that asinine suggestion, and let Jaden know that he's obligated to give a best man speech. Jaden reminds us that he's absolutely terrified of public speaking, because he, like the word assemblers, forgot that there was an entire episode dedicated to him getting over that shit. It's like each one was not only written by different people, but recorded in a vacuum away from one another, as everyone's development from previous episodes always reverts back to base characteristics. As though whichever person was assembling the script had a vague Cliff Notes version of the rest of the series and didn't even bother to use it. But since we're back to square one with Jaden's fears, he reminds us that he sweats profusely when he's in front of a crowd.
You can sweat as much as you like. We all have gills.
Returning to the newest addition to our love pentagram, Eyebrows and Caleb are laying on the floor as the former states that she's never met anyone that was worse at what she is now calling Science Lab Roulette, which is a name that would have given these two some semblance of a modicum of intelligence had it been used before instead of toxic or non-toxic. As the two of them do everything but fuck right there on the floor, Genesis cockblocks the shit out of him by mentioning his half-dead girlfriend.
When's the last time you talked to Tarima?
Day of the ambush.
Over 4 weeks ago. More than 30 days. A full month.
Dude, you seriously suck at this relationship stuff. You have the ability to send a transmission instantaneously over hundreds of light years. Show the slightest bit of effort.
Just call her. Call her again.
Well, because this has gotten a bit too awkward for the two of them, Eyebrows suggests that they commit a military offense that would definitely land their asses in a court-martial. You see, she wants to break into the bridge and sit in the captain's chair because she, quote, wants to sit in a chair that isn't her father's.
That's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
By the way, for a guy who has consistently been painted as a rebel dickhead, Caleb is a very patient listener. Either that or he just zones out every time a woman is babbling in his direction. Genesis once again talks about her daddy issues and how difficult it is to make it seem like she doesn't care. Which is news to us since you fucking mention that shit in every episode. But she needs this because deep down she has to know if she's ready to command a ship. You know, the thing she's been raised to do since birth? No amount of training could possibly give her an idea better than sitting in a chair that Nala put her fucking feet all over. Actually, it would have improved the scene dramatically if she would have said she wanted to break in so she could spray down the chair with disinfectant. Back on Maracas, everyone is getting fitted for dresses, and I mean everyone.
What the fuck?
Because something fish people wear dresses. I don't fucking know. As Jaden fidgets due to his discomfort, though, I mean, come on, man, we've all seen what you wear in real life. Durham starts to freak out about Jaden possibly tearing it if he doesn't stop moving, which ironically enough forces him to tear his own dress, which is way more fashion talk than I have ever done.
Give me a full ballerina skirt and a hint of saloon and I'm on board.
As Jaden calms him down, he suddenly remembers that his people prefer warm temperatures and begins shivering as Durham gives him the ceremonial mantle of his people, aka a jacket. As the two of them look as though they are about to drop to their knees and start sucking each other off, Jaden reminds Durham that he nearly died for everyone back at the academy and that his place is there. A sentiment the latter shares, but knows his obligations are with his people. Once again, why did this motherfucker join Starfleet if he couldn't be in Starfleet?
Fuck if I know.
He clearly knows he has this duty to his planet, so the thought of leaving likely would have never even crossed his mind. But seeing how he's always trying to fuck dudes, clearly the prospect of joining the Space Navy was better than marrying a royal hottie. Also, how the fuck has this dude who is supposed to be a gym rat gotten less fit as this show has gone on? I mean, I'm not one to talk, but I'm not being paid by Paramount to stay in shape.
I can't just do what you did. You cut and ran.
What the fuck are you even talking about? Normally I'd say have at it, Jaden is fair game, but he did no such thing. His goddamn family abandoned him because he wanted to help people. They cut and ran from him. Where is the consistency? That was also in the fucking episode where he learned to speak in public. Are we even watching the same goddamn show? Kayla breaks into the bridge on behalf of Genesis so she can go sit in Nala's chair. But before she can even get Athlete's foot on her ass, she sends Caleb away so she can steal a key in order to erase her letters of recommendation. But Caleb, having anticipated this shit, comes back to catch her in the act and begins questioning her.
I was lying. It was a lie. You know, like a crime.
What's so important that you'd risk your spot at the Academy and mine too?
Seemingly forgetting he doesn't even want to be here. But why would she even do such a thing? Well, it turns out that she forged her letters of recommendation on her transcript, and if Nala or anyone else were to reach out, there would be massive inconsistencies. Not unlike the scripts for this series. So instead, she's just going to erase her transcript, because not only would that be less suspicious for some reason, but in this, the year of our Lord 3194, the concept of cloud or even hard copy backups apparently does not exist. So she will be getting rid of the only copy there has ever been. Also, did they not reach out to any of the referrals before they accepted her into the Academy? What is the enrollment procedure here? Caleb was let in under special circumstances, but apparently all you need is 2 brain cells and a fucking pencil and you're in.
Anybody that wants this teaching job would have to be an idiot.
The future of Starfleet. As Caleb tries to talk her out of it.
Why do you care?
Because you used me to get in here. If I was trying to mess up my life as badly as you're about to mess up yours, I know you'd stop me.
They are caught by Tig Retardo because, like idiots, they didn't bother to lock the door behind them and are just standing out in the open in the middle of an expellable infraction.
I thought I left my pad in here, but just a couple of cadets in the deepest of shit.
Because there's a god somewhere, we didn't need to watch the entire wedding. We got to cut right to the very end of the ceremony and reception, which strangely has the exact same customs as an Earth wedding.
If this were a Klingon wedding, Kyra would now bite Darum on the nose and they would break each other's clavicles. I have never known this side of Darum before today. Darum is someone who cares. He also knows what it means to be in service of something greater than himself. To put others first. Darum will ultimately choose to put himself aside and favor another's needs above his own.
This speech basically boils down to, bitch, he ain't won't be with you. Which is the first thing that Jaden has done in this series that I actually approve of, as he's speaking on behalf of a friend who is afraid to. Which is really the job of a best man.
Give it back. Yeah?
Nala returns to read Caleb and Genesis the Riot Act, and Caleb tries to take the fall, but Eyebrows doesn't let him, explaining about the letters. That everyone said that her driving emotion was fear. You know, for a person who tries really hard to hide it, the fact that everyone in her life knew this is more telling about how overconfident she really is in her deception. Genesis says she will pack her things and leave because, like one would assume, she's about to be expelled for multiple reasons. But let's not forget this is Nala we're talking about here. She's quirky and different. She likes to give 45th chances and thinks we always want a foot job. So instead she thinks that this was a learning experience and that Genesis is now more equipped than ever because she knows she's not ready and didn't learn when it was too late. However, because of their transgressions, Eyebrows is not going to be recommended, but honestly, she clearly didn't want that shit anyway. So glad to see that all of the screen time used building her up as a competent leader since episode 1 was all bullshit we could just forget. It's not like it was a majority of her development or anything. So rather than expulsion, they get a slap on the wrist and 200 hours of community service. Meaning that Caleb is now up to about 500. This dude is going to be scrubbing toilets for the rest of his life. Back to the happily married newlyweds who have tied the knot on behalf of their people. Everything is great, the wedding went off without a hitch, and the kingdom is preserved.
I want you to abdicate. We'll have the marriage and all, but to do that, you have to abdicate first.
Wait a minute! You're telling me after all of that, she's just gonna rule alone anyway? Seriously? Okay, we just spent the last hour with this fucker telling us how important this is and that it needs to be done because it's the only way. And within 5 goddamn minutes, you're gonna call it quits so he could go be in Starfleet. Does anyone remember that they teleported him here instantly? He can be in Starfleet and the King Consort. He doesn't need to choose. Believe it or not, there's historical precedence for officers being allowed to return home to fulfill familial obligations. So why would this be any different? If anything, having a standing member of the royal family be part of Starfleet only serves to further strengthen the interest of both parties. All this does now is damage the prestige and legitimacy of the Kionian crown. It would be like running for president only to resign a week in so your vice president could do it, which would cause chaos and turn you into a laughingstock. But of all the things we're getting out of this, the most important one is that the sexy fish queen is now single and emotionally vulnerable. So as Michael Jordan once said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so let's see where this goes.
3 days later.
Okay, it didn't work. Anyway, Jaden basically congratulates Darum on his divorce and says that they can go home now. But that the two of them are glad that this occurred because destabilizing governments is clearly what Starfleet cadets should be striving to do with their spare time. Returning home, they meet up with Kyle, who is suspiciously okay with the fact that Jaden just disappeared before their trip. And going based on the fact that he has a sunburn, he just went anyway, no questions asked. He really is the most laid-back person there is. Also, was this over the course of 4 days? Because it felt like a single afternoon. In typical Darum fashion, he takes a pop shot at Kyle and they all go their separate ways for the time being. Caleb and Genesis are serving mop-up duty using what appears to be Swiffers, discussing how lucky they are. It's here that Eyebrows convinces him to finally sack up and call Tarima. But Caleb reiterates there was a moment where he wasn't thinking about her, further implying this dude was considering getting his dick wet as his girlfriend is in a fucking coma. Ignoring this, Genesis tells him to send the message and be himself. Though that might be a bad idea. That it's never too late to tell someone how he feels. We get it, guys. You want to screw each other as well. No need to be so avaricious about it. The episode closes with Caleb recording an apology message for Tarima.
I'm sorry. You saw the part of me that I try to pretend doesn't exist, and I was too freaked out to realize that couldn't have been random.
And he hits send just in time for us to see the meteor shower that was such a minor plot point I forgot to mention it until now. Have you been hiding a secret from everyone? One that they're close to figuring out? Are you afraid you'll need to abandon your current way of life in order to fulfill some bullshit obligations? Well, not anymore! Not with burden evasion and romantic deception. That's right, Beard. Your one-stop shop for making sure your family has no idea about your alternative lifestyle. You might be asking, what is it that you do exactly? Well, in order to get those pain-in-the-ass parents off your back, we'll pair you up in a heteronormative relationship with the ideal partner that fits all of their expectations. And all you need to do is just give us some basic information about your folks, such as religion, geographical location, tax returns, education level, voting record, medical history, mental health evaluations, and, of course, their names. Remember to ask about our White Picket Fence membership club, where we'll not only find you the perfect home for you and your fake spouse, but we'll throw in 2.5 children absolutely free. Half child is not actually sought in 2. It's only a statistical calculation. Beard does not advocate for children being bisected in order to fulfill a quota. So come on down to your local Beard branch and we'll make sure that nobody can tell who you're really fucking today. This episode opens up with EMH reminding us just how fucking old he is.
How many dawns have I seen alone?
He also lets us know that Tarima is returning with a new, more powerful neural inhibitor and that she's being transferred to Starfleet Academy because of some bullshit about the emotional stress of War College. Don't you just love the tell not show style of word assembly? Not like that could have been a mini story arc or anything. Not to mention the fact that them simply moving her to the adjacent school that practically shares a campus would do nothing to alleviate the issues with the trauma she has suffered. This would be like if you were assaulted after somebody broke into your apartment and the solution was to move you across the hallway and remove the door. She arrives and EMH gives her the rundown about everything ranging from her condition, what happened on the Miyazaki, and why she's being relocated, as if she didn't already know that shit. But who knows, everyone in this series is retarded anyway, so maybe they just put her on a transport and she didn't bother to ask a single question. Especially considering she's acting like she was lobotomized. But we all know the real reason is because of that god-awful second screen writing that they do, where every character needs to explain every detail because they're assuming that no one's even paying attention. Which, going based on the ratings, they're not wrong. As soon as Tarima is removed from the scene, we see that Darum has once again been reset to factory defaults as he's starting shit for no reason whatsoever. Because once again, everything from the previous episode was meaningless and no one learned a goddamn thing. And instead of being, you know, a competent administrator, Nala just sits back and watches it all play out like she has money on the fight.
It's feeling pretty combustible in here.
No shit.
Cutting to the bridge, we see that everyone is in an absolute panic, as it's very clear that they're all going to die soon, which would be very good for all 4 of us that are still watching. Teamwork between the crew is broken down and no one has any fucking clue what they're supposed to do. Almost like they're students or something. Meanwhile, Tig Retardo is just sitting there condescendingly offering zero advice or instruction, content with them failing right in front of her eyes. Because it's not the obligation of the person in the captain's chair to, I don't know, steer the proverbial ship or anything.
Congratulations. That was a spectacular failure of teamwork.
No shit.
Seeing as how it's quite clear that no one is over being kidnapped, watching people get murdered, and themselves nearly being turned into lunch, Nala believes they're going to need some reinforcements, which is already on their way. Summoning all of the main characters to a new classroom with no explanation as to why, everyone just sits there like goobers talking about whatever random dumbassery they can to fill the awkward silence.
And I dropped your toothbrush in the toilet.
What?
This uncomfortable moment is clearly missing something, but fret not, that hole is about to be filled as Tarima comes in and completely ignores Caleb. So I guess that's the only hole that's gonna get filled, right? Huh? Yeah? It's pretty obvious that this situation keeps getting worse for everyone involved.
Is there any more shit we could pile on to the top of the outcome of this case?
Eyes up, cadets.
Ah yes, another extremely unpopular transplant from the only other series in this franchise as hated as this one. But since the Federation is female now, it should have been obvious that only a quirky, bubbly woman—
That's a woman?
—is capable of fixing the issues here. This marks yet the third character to infect this show from another, which really lends credence to Discovery having the moniker of STD. Also, the years have not been kind to this chick. But why is she here?
Theater!
Derham, being the only one who ever seems to have a fucking brain here, agrees with this sentiment and asks what this has to do with anything. And Sylvia just tells him that 8 out of 10 people ask her that question and the other 2 become captains. Which goes to show that she didn't pay attention in math class, because you're supposed to go with the lowest fraction available, so it should have been 4 out of 5. Like they did with dentists and chewing gum.
Theater is one of the most powerful tools for social and political change.
The worst part is that Tilly actually has a point here, but she's presenting it in the worst way possible. Yes, there is a performative aspect to any job that requires that you maintain composure under severe stress, such as being a captain. But that doesn't require table reads of Shakespeare to do. You don't need the intricate workings of method acting or understanding the meaning behind cats to hold your shit together. This comes off less as you need to keep your cool even when scared shitless, and more like, we here in Hollywood think that acting is the most important thing ever. If you were to take one guess as to which of the room temperature IQs is the first to buy fully into this utterly batshit idea, which one would you say it is? I'll tell you what, I'll give you 10 seconds to type your guess into the comments, and please no cheating, I really want to see how this goes. If you guessed anal beads, you'd be right.
It changes your life.
Please, change my life.
Unfortunately though, seeing as how all of my money has gone to booze to get through this show, I can't give you anything for being correct. But just know that you're like a good person, and that's the real prize. Tilly immediately marks Sam as her favorite student and tells everyone to go pick a play, and that she will decide which one the class will use. By the way, am I the only one who's reminded of the rental car lady from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles every time this chick is on screen with her over-the-top, unflaggingly annoying optimism? Fuck that shit. The world sucks and glasses are always half empty, even when they're full. Back in their dorm, Sam and new roomie Tarima are trying to decide what to use as anal beads. I can't believe it. I can't bet that fucking. Back in their dorm, new room.
You're a sick bastard.
Back in their dorm, Sam and new roomie Tarima are trying to decide what to use, as anal beads goes through every single play ever written.
I just switched from Klingon musical theater to 20th century Earth melodramas.
From every culture that has ever existed. Again, why the fuck does this chick need to take up space at this academy? She learned universal literature in 30 seconds just now. As Sam is going a mile a minute about her favorite, Tarima is once again acting like they quadrupled her Xanax prescription, showing no emotion whatsoever. Need I remind you that she is the Betazoid in this scene? She then receives an apology for anal beads being too much, but Tarima just gives the least convincing smile ever, though honestly this might just be the actress, and tells Sam not to apologize for that, as she's the only one who hasn't treated her like a freak since returning. Maybe, and here's a wild thought, talk to everyone like a normal person. You're literally just getting back what you give here. Shit, you've been acting like you were hit with a tranq dart since the moment you got back. And you haven't even bothered to talk to your boyfriend. Hell, even the retard is picking up on it.
Have you laughed before now? I mean, since you've been here?
And she's powered by light and apparently pure uncut Colombian cocaine. Tarima just shakes her head as Sam tells her that even though shit went down and it's been hard, she still finds a way to laugh. But Tarima is clearly in her 2004 emo phase because she hits us with this banger.
Doesn't feel like anything.
No shit.
Remember how in the previous episode Sam was sent to the hollow spa to fix her glitching? Well, it turns out that didn't do shit because it's still happening. And for some strange reason, instead of saying something like, hey, I'm still fucked up, she tries to hide it like that awkward boner we all got before being called up to the front of the classroom. In Nala's quarters, we're subjected to the Real Housewives of the Federation, except no one wants to marry any of these bitches. Which is pretty much a microcosm of this whole series. There are way too many female authority figures to the point where it's jarringly obvious. Literally the only male teacher in this school is a hologram. Tig Retardo gets all lesbo hot under the hood over the fact that Tilly is here.
Well, the rumor's true. She's here. You know, I could feel it in my teeth.
Not exactly sure what the fuck that even means, but in my experience, being compared to cavities generally doesn't translate into a good thing. I'm not shocked that Tig is ready to go muff diving though, seeing as how her scissoring partner has simply vanished from the story with no explanation.
Thank God we're flying. I'm too pissed to drive.
Nala explains that the trauma of the Miyazaki still runs deep through the campus and that Tilly is the only thing that can help them. Has anyone thought of trying a big bag of weed? Cause I'm pretty certain that that'll work better than going through a bunch of plays with dramatic death scenes. Also, we all know that Kyle knows where to get the good shit.
Well, ambition will get some of them to at least participate. Others have understandably lost their metric.
Whatever the fuck that means. What is going on here? In what might possibly be the best example of arrogant projection you'll ever see, both Tilly and Tig explain that they, quote-unquote, been there in regards to Tarima's problems. I'm sorry, you've both had a psychic feedback overload that sent you into a coma and makes it that you might possibly die if you experience too much stress? All because you forcibly removed your neural inhibitor that was surgically implanted in your neck to limit your innate abilities? And here I was thinking this wasn't a common occurrence. Speaking of Tarima, Caleb attempts to talk to her, but because this show is exclusively populated by walking stereotypes that have emotional maturity somewhere below Tommy Pickles, she gives him the silent treatment.
Why can't you look at me?
You found me beautiful once.
Back in drama class, wouldn't you know it, the weirdest goddamn line of the day comes from Jaden Smith.
They've been served the heart and the quadritesticles of their fathers.
Okay, first of all, someone was paid to write and then subsequently read that shit. Second, I am really scared to ask what the fuck he's even talking about. But at the same time, I'm kinda curious what a quadritesticle is. Is he saying that Klingons have 4 nuts? Because if that's the case, Opal turning down the shirt thing that was Nala a few episodes ago is even more impressive. Because 4 blue balls must really suck. But according to Tilly, this was a powerful and well-told story, clearly because it involved emasculation. And that's all you really need in the femme duration. Also, for some reason, Jaden is now sick, which Caleb narcs him out for immediately.
He means to say he's got a cold he refuses to take care of.
Please return to your quarters and quarantine until this runs its course.
Why aren't you sending him to the med bay? You guys have tech that can cure bullet holes in seconds. I'm sure they can handle the sniffles. But it actually doesn't matter either way because this plot point is dropped as fast as it was added. Next up to present is Sam, who word vomits out the plot of Our Town, and then goes on to explain how she really doesn't understand it.
It's about not much. It's about something else at the same time. Something bigger. They are kids, and they're teens in love.
And even without doing a table read of the scene or letting anyone else present for that matter, Tilly just chooses this one because let's not forget.
Favorite.
But all of this excitement is just too much for anal beads as she begins to glitch out again, this time collapsing. Well, at least unlike Jaden, they remember that they have a place for sick people and she wakes up in the presence of EMH, who is confused as to why she didn't come to him sooner. He then asks her to describe what she's feeling.
Feels like falling into myself and watching a machine try to function with no one in control.
You're not a machine, Sam.
Shut your mouth, you bitch. You aren't helping. Unfortunately for Sam, EMH has no clue how to fix her, and quite frankly, I'm not shocked. Have you seen this actress during interviews? She's a complete mess. Sam asks if they can go to Cass, because possibly the makers might be able to do something. But EMH is not only unsure if they will have the answers, but if they will even allow Sam to come back. What with the whole already having issues with her attitude and not trusting organic beings. So logically, EMH will travel with Sam, and seeing as how Nala already knows that the makers are isolationists, obviously the smartest thing for her to do is to insert herself into this journey. Because surely they won't mind the exact type of beings they don't trust just showing up on their fucking doorstep. Tarima and Eyebrows go to their dorm expecting to find anal beads only to see that she's missing.
I guess they couldn't waste any time.
So I guess that last-minute decision that was made in a different room that had no one else in it just moments ago is somehow already public knowledge. Because there is absolutely no reason for her to say this. The line should have been something like, I wonder where they took her, or I guess she's still down in the med bay. But also, despite the urgency, Sam somehow found time to leave some parting gifts.
You got the plate, and I got a toothbrush.
I got a rock.
She didn't need to come back to this room. She's a hologram. She doesn't need to pack clothes or anything. So since this drama class bullshit was to snap them all out of the funk of losing a classmate and they possibly just watched that shit occur again mid-lecture, it seems only logical that they would carry on as if nothing happened at all. These assholes really, they just can't catch a break. They just can't. This would be like somebody offering to buy you a drink to cope with the stress of your Alcoholics Anonymous meeting.
My name is Colin M.
Tilly explains to everybody that they're returning Sam to Cask to see if she's still under her manufacturer's warranty. And if those two juxtaposed scenes seem off to you, it's because they're fucking backwards. This one should have been first, followed by them running to their room. But the show must go on, I suppose, and everybody starts awkwardly delivering lines.
Emily, wearing her wedding veil, draws back, frightened, when she sees the congregation.
But because they're military cadets and not members of SAG-AFTRA, at least in story, they once again bring up that none of them know or understand what the hell any of this is about. But luckily for them, Tilly is there to offer up more non-answers.
Sam cares. Don't be the captain who tears down, be the captain who lifts up.
They are showing compassion, you pudgy, carrot-top looking bitch. Actually, come to think of it, I used that nickname during Alien Earth, so just give me a second. Hey, what's something that's like close to a carrot, but it's fat and unappealing? A rutabaga? Okay, look, you fucking rutabaga, you aren't helping them at all, which is why you were brought in here in the first place. The rest of the scene is basically everyone going through the motions reluctantly to shut her ass up.
There's an expectation on them to get married and be happy.
I don't know, maybe he doesn't want what he's supposed to want. Things everyone else seems to want.
Terima, Emily says she hates George. She loved him seconds before this moment, so...
Sorry, can't someone just not want to do this?
On the way to Cask, Nala inquires on what to expect, and Sam explains that they exist in a unique configuration of space, that time moves exceptionally fast in comparison to Earth. Which is actually the opposite of what it should be. They are beings made of light. Time should be moving faster everywhere but Cask. But whatever, let's not dwell on the science part of science fiction. Really, all it is just another throwback to the time in Voyager when EMH had a similar experience. So more member berries. But what's more important here is that the word assemblers can't even keep their own shit in order. Back in the first Sam-focused episode, we were told that the Makers were abandoned by organics on Cask. But in this scene, we're being told that they fled to Cask in order to get away from their oppressors. Which admittedly is a better story, but it's not the one we were presented with the first time. EMH, curious as to how he'll be received, is told that they will view him as the perfect mentor for Sam, even though up to this point he's resisted that at every turn. He immediately responds by turning his back dramatically like it's a telenovela and saying that that was never his purpose. And that he approaches the situation diagnostically and doesn't have time for nonsense.
I don't have time for any other nonsense.
It isn't nonsense. It's my life.
Way to be a hologram dick, dude. And so we've arrived at the 30 seconds of decent writing quota per episode as Sam continues to press EMH about the subject.
You know what I want? I want to fall on my butt and then have my best friend to make me feel better. I want to be a rebel, like Caleb, like the Chancellor.
He turns back to respond, but before he could say anything, she begins glitching out and goes into sleep mode like she just had an intense workout.
Here is some cab fare, now going to sleep mode.
At the academy, Caleb is trying to sleep when he's interrupted by a drunk and belligerent Terima who acts, well, I mean, just look at this shit.
Aren't you gonna say anything? I'm not a mind reader.
Don't want to say the wrong thing.
I am, though. A mind reader. You used to get jokes.
You might be asking yourself, how the fuck did she get so plastered? Well, it turns out that commercial for Insta-Drunk in the previous episode actually wasn't that far off, as she stole a bottle of Tears of Crisari, which is strong enough to put you in the medbay after just 3 shots. She does mention that her new inhibitor counters the effects of alcohol, but seeing as how she's white girl wasted, the jury is still out on that one. In some weird change of pace, Caleb actually tries to be the mature one and have a serious conversation, despite Terima having a little blood in her alcohol stream right now. So how bad could this go, right? Well, pretty much how one would expect, as Caleb is concerned for her, but Terima just wants to ride him like a roller coaster. Which, to Caleb's credit, he denies due to the circumstances. But that's not good enough for Terima, who just gets pissed that he doesn't want to take advantage of her. So according to this idiot, that means he's afraid.
I want to get as close as possible to the abyss. Touch it. Know I touched it, and then run away.
What is the fucking message here? Because Caleb is trying to be a good person, Terima snaps at him saying he should just go be with Genesis, and that now he's just a good little academy boy, not the rebel she lusted after.
Hurting me is not gonna make me feel any better.
Incorrect.
Just a reminder, this is supposed to be a Star Trek show. Next, Terima stumbles her blotto ass back to the dorm to confront Genesis, the latter of which has the body language of somebody who's very guilty, even though we know for a fact she's done literally nothing wrong. Well, at least with this situation. This scene just keeps dragging, so I'll sum it up.
You know, I didn't really like you for some vague reason. It's 'cause of my dad, isn't it? No, it's 'cause Caleb wants a threesome.
I believe it's menage a trois.
Returning to adventures and tech support, they've arrived at Cask, which appears to be a discount Borg cube, only hexagonal. The 3 of them are pulled into what appears to be a black and white version of the atrium created by their scanned memories, and the Makers address EMH first.
That's racist.
Telling him that they already know a lot about him and that they are making an exception due to the circumstances, but normally don't allow anyone here. Asking for her consent... Fucking A, she's a projection, she's not even real. They start running diagnostics programs and discover that it's way worse than they anticipated. And even still, EMH will not hold her goddamn hand. Thought this dude spent centuries with people learning empathy, but I guess it doesn't apply here with his own kind. She is then shut down and the Makers speak through her, showing EMH just how much of a POS he's been.
As my new mentor, please meet. I'm no one's mentor.
No one's mental. No one's mental.
Nala asks the Makers if she's dying, and this is the moment that we cut back to fucking Starglee Academy for more goddamn drama club. Where we get a pseudo-marriage counseling session disguised as a play.
Why do you guys think that the idea of marriage is suddenly so painful for each of them?
Honestly, I'm done with this dumb plot, so I'm eliminating it going forward. In sum, they keep saying that it's stupid until he insists that it's not. Multiple disagreements happen, and eventually they all come to a mutual understanding. There you go, that's the long and short of this retarded storyline.
We dance, we kiss, we schmooze, we carry on, we go home happy. What do you say? Come on.
Back to the character who's possibly dying. The Makers determine that they can't fix her and blame Starfleet.
What took us 2 centuries to build, you killed in 209 days.
And that's it, they're not gonna build a new one, just delete her and call it quits. Also, they don't even plan to back up the data that she's acquired, which is, like, why? Why would you even do that? I mean, I get that she learned a lot, but I'm sure you can at least spare a few terabytes on your servers. She downloaded pretty much all of human history, that's still useful. Trima's packing up and Occam says that she won't stay, but none of them really give a shit about that as they're more concerned about Sam.
They should have told us something by now.
No, motherfucker, they shouldn't have. Just because you're her friend does not give you any type of clearance. And also, they've been gone for like a day. Maybe there's nothing to report, Commander Gaydon. Eyebrows shows everyone the toothbrush, using it as an example of the love that Sam would give them. Or, you know, she dropped yours in a goddamn toilet, but I guess the same thing. Personally, if somebody gifted me a toothbrush, I just assumed they were telling me I had halitosis. But for them, it's here that it all clicks as to why she chose the play that they all refuse to act in. That it's a character outside of time observing, and how much they are losing with her actively dying. They finally pull their heads out of their asses and decide to give the play a shot to better connect with the friend that they are for sure going to lose. Which would be a great sequence if not followed by what's coming up. Just wait, you'll see. Back on Cask, EMH feels that he owes Sam an explanation as to why he treated her like the butler from Scary Movie 2.
Take my hand! Ah!
He tells her about the family he once created and the daughter that he lost. How it was nearly 8 centuries ago, but to him it might as well have been yesterday. And that he has feared that pain returning since the moment he met Sam, as all he could do was see his daughter, even though they look absolutely nothing alike. You know, for a hologram, he's really profiling his own here.
That's racist.
Nala calls back the Makers to demand a reason why they can't fix her, because she needs the Karen at least once per episode. She says that if they started with a version, why can't they just go back to that version again? They explain that she has evolved and changed in ways that they can't understand, that she was not pre-programmed with memories or experiences, so she would remain unbiased. EMH points out the rather obvious little detail that they literally sent out a newborn fucking baby into the world without context to understand her emotions or process her feelings. And that's why she's struggling. You know, for basically omniscient beings, these bastards are pretty fucking stupid.
God, you're dumb.
So after hearing EMH come up with this hypothesis, Nala of course tries to take credit for it.
It wasn't the hit she took on the Miyazaki that killed her. It was the rippling of damage to her system afterwards.
Honestly though, can you blame her here? She just listened to some high-level shit, and we've all been in conversations that were totally above our heads, so we just started repeating stuff.
Eddie.
Yada 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 yada. Eddie. Yada yada yada.
But she does shift right back to Karening and blames the Makers. Because it's their fault that Sam never learned coping skills and demands that they rebuild her so that she can be provided with the necessary tools by giving her a childhood. Which would technically kill this version. EMH tells her that in theory it could work, but doesn't see who could help her with that. Okay, let's just check the roster here. Nala, of course, volunteers EMH for the job because she can't be fucked to do it herself, even though part of her character arc has been regrets about her own child. EMH continues to resist the push to have him do it.
You have been pushing her away and pushing her away.
I am not the one. The only thing that allows me to bear my infinity is not having to love anyone.
You mean not having to love anyone again?
After calling himself a coward, he finally gives in and listens to a woman. Does the right thing. Summoning back the Makers, he offers to parent Sam on Cask, which because of the unique nature of the planet will mean that they could live 17 years in just 2 weeks.
2 weeks!
So like Nala can just stay 2, right? She's effectively immortal, been alive for a few centuries as well. 17 years should be a breeze. Wouldn't even really affect the semester back at the academy at all. Oh, no, she's not gonna help? Yeah, who would want 2 parents anyway? Especially when you could have this awesome growing up montage.
We're gonna need a montage.
So remember how I said some scenes would be great if they had better follow-ups? Well, we've arrived at that section of the script. Tarima rejoins everyone, having decided not to leave even though Occam said she would. Tigretardo congratulates Tilly on a job well done, even though the cadets figured it out on their own after telling her to fuck off. But worst of all, the absolute spit in the face of any character development in this entire episode is the fact that Sam 2.0 arrives and is completely indistinguishable from the previous version.
They're the same picture.
She looks exactly the same, was given access to all of her old memories, has the same mannerisms, and even gets to keep her name. This is such a cop-out, it makes the entire prior 50 minutes irrelevant. Maybe if they did something bold, like change the actress or something, it would have had more punch. But instead we basically got this shit.
I feel like I know all you guys. So we won't have that awkward get-to-know-each-other stage.
Sure. It would be like we never lost Landfill.
You know, for a show that has done everything it can to piss us off, this is officially the cardinal sin of storytelling. Wasting everyone's time. In the end, nothing we just watched mattered. You know, I'm so annoyed, just go to commercial. Does adult life have you down? Do you wish it could all be easy again? Perhaps you yearned for a time where you had no responsibilities. Don't we the fuck all? Well, luckily for you, if you have an ass ton of cash, you can go back to simpler times. With the Centers for Reliving Infancy, Toddlerhood, and Inner Child Fantasies. Chucking food against the wall? Sure. Throwing a temper tantrum on the floor? Why not? Or do you simply just want to shit your pants without being judged for it? Well, we have you covered. And the best part is that you'll be cleaned up by one of our desperate underpaid early childhood education majors because they couldn't find work elsewhere. Purchase our Fantasies Unlimited package so you can really say F you to adulthood by coming in as often as you like. So call us at 155-244-2229, that's 155-BIG-BABY, to book your visit and start acting like a spoiled and soiled brat as soon as possible. As if some higher power heard the pleas of everyone who has been suffering through this shit show, we have arrived at the end of the school year. Or as they call it, the 300th night. And to ring in the end of this lack of education, everyone is headed to Beta Z for the dedication ceremony of the new seat of government. So as you do, the Athena has been turned into a hedonism cruise liner that makes Jabba's sail barge seem like a Christian Bible camp.
A friendly reminder that storage rooms are for storage only and are not to be used for storing yourselves.
Because of course, the best way to instill a sense of reassurance is to have thousands of your finest cadets doing the walk of shame onto the streets of your new capital.
You'd hope!
The future of Starfleet.
What a joke.
They're finally feeling all they've accomplished this year.
Or at least the ones you didn't get killed throughout the semester. As an overwhelming majority of the students do their best impression of this dude.
The wild women, the rippin' and the tearin'.
The main crew is actually being a bit more reserved as they partake in a Klingon bonding ritual.
To honor each other's existing families.
Well, all except Caleb, who's doing his douchebaggery early in this episode by refusing. Which really pisses off Darum.
Is not gonna kill you, Mare. So, drink up and join the family.
The ritual also ends up revealing that Sam has applied for a single room next year, much to the chagrin of Genesis.
Wait, what? I just need to change. That's all.
So all in all, I would say this is a rousing success for bringing them closer together. Caleb walks out and ends up running into Tarima for the most tension-filled elevator ride since Winter Soldier.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
But instead of breaking out into a fistfight, which would have been more entertaining, Caleb instead says that he's prepared a list of topics for just such an occasion, ranging from some bullshit to some other bullshit. He's just really casting a wide net here. Before leaving, Tarima reminds him that she sucked his dick and killed a bunch of people with her mind. Not at the same time, those happened independent of one another. And that none of these topics are gonna do the trick. Vance has decided to grace us with his presence for his obligatory bi-weekly expository cameo, in order to let us know that they finally figured out what the fuck New stole from J19 Alpha.
He detonated a single particle of Omega 47, a synthetic variant of pure Omega. Destructive capacity in the same apocalyptic range. Sector 953 was uninhabited, but space and subspace in the sector was shredded, being millions of years before warp travel made it possible there again, if ever.
This raises a litany of questions. First of all, why the hell are they experimenting on these particles? Starfleet's Omega protocols expressly forbid this. Not only that, it requires that they're safely disposed of as soon as they are discovered due to their volatility. Secondly, how the fuck did neither the Chancellor of Starfleet Academy or a goddamn Admiral know that that's what was being held there? And also, why did it take so long to get that information? We basically have a Broken Arrow situation here, and multiple key need-to-know members of Starfleet have taken months to find out these details. And if it was such a top-secret project that even these two had no clue about it, how in God's name did Noose Braca find out? Are there just random felons trading classified military info for cigarettes?
He targeted the Miyazaki, but his endgame was the Omega on that space station.
No shit. Vance also lets her know that they were developing time delay devices at J-19 Alpha as well. So in other words, these retards were just casually developing minds that can destroy the galaxy. No big deal, nothing to see here, just carry on with your day. Kelrick, who's also there by the way, suggests that they cancel the ceremony on Beta Z despite it being the single most protected planet in Federation space. Vance scoffs at this idea and orders that they get everyone safely to Beta Z. Though I'm sure if it was put up to a vote, the cadets would opt to stay on the ship for reasons. Nala asks the question on everybody's mind. That being, if this murderous psychopath has this shit, why hasn't he used it yet? Which is honestly a good goddamn question. I mean, I've watched the rest of the episode and know that he has a plan. It's a stupid plan, but a plan nonetheless. But he could just end this shit right now. There is absolutely no reason to wait.
The suspense is terrible. He's gonna go this time. I hope it'll last.
Go on, boy.
Caleb is chilling in his dorm when he's interrupted by Sam 2.0, now with improved nuisance sensors, allowing her to pop up in the most inconvenient places even quicker. He tells her that if it weren't for the fact that he's a master compartmentalizer, he'd be pissed at her. But really, the only thing this scene even yields is the fact that Caleb still has not been able to locate his mother, even though he has access to the Starfleet comm channels. They also use this as a chance to remind everyone about the storyline that's been stuck in neutral since episode 1. Because remember, we're idiots who can't recall anything. Anal Beads points out that she likely wouldn't even use those channels as they would be deemed unsafe. Something that anyone with half a brain should be able to figure out. Let's think about it for a second, shall we? If you were a convict who escaped prison, would you be calling police stations leaving voicemails as to where you currently are located? She has no idea that Caleb is a member of Starfleet Academy. Why would she ever assume to try and contact him there? Sam also tells him that he's thinking like now Caleb, not then Caleb, and that he should try to connect the dots like his 6-year-old self would. She then begins to reminisce about her childhood from like a week ago, where she played games with EMH. Then Caleb reminds her that his childhood sucked ass. He truly is a multi-time gold medalist in the Struggle Olympics. She keeps giving him the hints required to figure this shit out, but since he's thick as a brick, she might as well beat him over the head with a bat because he isn't getting it. That is until he does.
That movie is called Johnny.
Took you long enough.
After cracking the code, he discovers literally 2 years worth of messages giving him places where his mother has been. And because apparently she's retarded, the channel is encrypted to only send messages one way. Caleb asks Anal Beads to decrypt the channel in order to send a return message, but even with her vast computing capacity, this will take up to 14 hours. Why the fuck would you set up a channel to reach out to him but not allow him to respond? It's already password protected. There's no reason to add more layers of security. This two-step verification bullshit simply exists to progress the plot and nothing more. Especially when you consider that if she did this to prevent people from finding her, she basically already laid out a map for them. But also if that person happened to be Caleb, he can't even tell her to stop moving around. Which means that for all Anissa, which is her name by the way, not that we've heard it for 8 episodes, knows, Caleb has been chasing her to all of these different planets just to find out that she left. But he is able to at least pinpoint her last known location as Ukek Market, which is outside of Federation space. And wouldn't you know it, it's about to be annexed by the Venari Rawl. Even though everything about this is one giant red flag, when has that ever stopped Caleb? You know, in the hands of a more competent writer, this may have been written as a trap, but you know damn well that that's not the case here. He then proceeds to storm into Nala's office, where she and Kelrick are discussing the Federation being put into lockdown and the fleet being recalled.
No Starfleet vessels will be allowed outside our territory until we've ended the Venari Rawl threat.
Well, since it's pretty obvious Caleb is not going to be getting any official support on this one, he opts to go solo. As he heads toward the shuttles, he runs into Tarima, but I'm sick of her shit, so we're just gonna move on. Arriving at the transport bay, it's now time to add carjacking to his rap sheet. But before he can get the hell out of Dodge, Sam pops her ass into one of the seats, scaring the shit out of him yet again.
What's up? What's up? I'm coming with you to Ukek.
Will you stop doing that?
She tells him that she's coming as well, but as anyone would when dealing with this pain in the balls, he of course says no, hiding it behind the guise of her protection. Which of course doesn't work with Sam 2.0, who doesn't follow orders, programming, or basic privacy protocols. You know, unlike Sam 1.0, who was into bar fights, prank wars, and all that other shit that must have been part of the plan. As the two of them bicker back and forth, Caleb gives in just as Genesis stumbles upon them, having conveniently volunteered to secure the shuttles.
Coincidence? I think not!
As Sam catches eyebrows up on all that's been happening, what are the fucking odds that Darum would drunkenly fall into the exact same ship as well?
Never tell me the odds.
Caleb questions Darum on why exactly he's so drunk as we become privy to more trivia about the anatomy of his species.
We lack the enzymes to break down alcohol.
I guess it's time for this suicide mission to start. A journey which will take days, if not weeks, simply to get to their destination, nevertheless find Anisha. It will be perilous. It will be difficult.
There's a transrep tunnel that'll shave about 30 hours off our time.
It will take 15 minutes. You know, that actually might be a good thing. I'm not so sure I could have taken much more of this dumb shit.
He does crazy stuff like this, not you. You don't know me.
Write him out. He likes being persecuted.
This man tells no lies whilst drunk. In order to pull this off, Anal Beads forges EMH's codes, which I'm sure won't lead anybody directly to them or anything. Surely this won't raise any suspicion, because as everybody knows, it's Federation standard that the ship's doctor go to East Bumblefuck in the middle of a crisis. Actually, come to think of it, maybe they won't get caught, since apparently there's no warning signs when a shuttle leaves the Athena. You'd think that even with official codes, there'd be some sort of notification. Tarima asked Jaden where Caleb is, and I would have skipped this because, once again, I'm over her. But this will come into play later, so I'll just let you know that on the pad she sees all of the messages. Back on the shuttle, they're all panicking because none of them know how to fly it, despite Caleb doing just that in the first episode. But I guess whoever assembled this episode was unaware. Honestly, we could waste a fuck ton of time by going over what happens on the trip, or we could just skip to the end when they get there. Which is what we'll do.
Great.
You know, just when I forgot that that was a thing. This is exemplary of everything wrong with this show. It was clear from the start it was never going to be serious Star Trek. But it doesn't even do comedy right. The only thing they even seem to attempt is humiliating male characters. Here we have a guy who was introduced as the cool hard ass, and they have consistently embarrassed him with dumb shit like vomiting glitter. Not to mention the fact that he's a fish person who's apparently frying pansexual. Returning to the alleged leader of this school, Nala is looking over plans when Tig Retardo comes in. Seems that top secret need-to-know highly classified attack is making the rounds. And since only 2 people on the ship were told about it, the finger should be pointing at Kelrick. As they begin to talk about this confidential, restricted information that requires the highest of clearances, they are overheard by 2 people who have no business knowing this shit.
We're not here.
You see, this is why you don't discuss this stuff out in the open. Back at Ukek, which is a place that looks like a petri dish of anarchistic ideology and STDs. So basically any college campus in California. The cadets beam down and begin searching through the muck and mire that is the local populace. And since the economy is based solely on robbery and assault as well as a healthy dose of hatred towards the Federation, you'd think these morons would hide their comm badges, but nah, just brandishing them out right in the open. Eyebrow suggests that they barter off their star charts in order to get the parts they need to fix the damage the shuttle incurred from their trip through the subwarp time-bending bullshit. Which to date is the hardest line I have ever read in any script. For an allegedly intelligent person, this seems incredibly short-sighted. If you barter away your star charts, how the fuck do you plan to get home? Also, if this plot seems familiar, that's because it's lifted directly from the Phantom Menace. On the Athena, Vance and Nala tell us a bunch of shit we already know about the Venari role. Nala then goes on to form what is effectively a mini search party for the side quest of finding these kids against Vance's wishes. He does tell Nala to at least stay in contact through the secure channels, but it's essentially not his fucking problem once they leave Federation space. Such a great admiral. The present of Starfleet. Luckily for them, Tig Retardo has the programs needed for just such an occasion.
Needed to field test our automated bridge systems anyway.
Ooh, how convenient! Back at Cal Berkeley, Caleb is searching for Anisha by just walking around randomly and hoping to find her.
Not a great plan.
You haven't seen her in a decade and a half. She could look significantly different, not to mention that literally everyone is wearing face coverings like COVID 3094 is in full swing. Also, you have no idea if she's even still here. It could take you hours, if not days, to find her. Or it could happen in 14 seconds, why not? She then attacks him for no goddamn reason whatsoever and threatens to kill him until she realizes who he is.
Well...
Look, I get that you need to be on high alert in a place like this, but he was just walking. They haven't even exited the public area. It's not as though he was shown following her down alleyways. This is just a slightly less populated section of the market. This would be like beating the shit out of someone because they also happen to walk into the organic cereal aisle. Also, what if she just stabbed him here without giving any type of chance to explain who he was? But since her survival skills only go as far as pinning a person against the wall, it allows for this incredibly awkward reunion that borders on incest.
I'm so sorry. I thought I'd lost you.
Okay, at least now she looks like Tatiana Maslany, but why the fuck does she appear younger here? That must have been a cakewalk of a prison. To save you the brain cells, I'll sum up this conversation pretty quickly.
You got older.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, growing up must have been so hard for you.
Yeah.
You're so handsome and brilliant, you found my messages after all these years.
Yeah.
I swear I didn't rejoin the Venari Raw. I faked my own death to escape.
Yeah?
You hear that speech? That's some Oscar shit right there. That was nice.
Anal Beats does that annoying thing she keeps doing where she pops in and nearly gets blasted for her troubles, and since we're unsure if this bitch can actually get shot or not, who knows what would have happened. Seriously though, could somebody please explain to me what the deal is with that shit? It's really bugging me. The rest of the A-team, if A stood for assholes, show up and Anisha doesn't trust them because they have nice hands or some bullshit. Also because they don't look like the kids from the UNICEF commercials.
Well nourished for a bunch of kids from all over. Venari Rawl have spies everywhere.
They're not spies, Mom.
I would just like to point out that Paul Giamatti looks as though he hasn't turned down a bowl of pasta for about 20 years. So using a person's BMI as a determining factor for their Federation loyalty seems like a flawed system, to say the least. She asks the most obvious question in the world, which is why have these retards decided to park their asses in this shithole? But instead of saying, you know, they're there for her, Genesis spins it that they just need parts for their ship. Anisha, Bobby, you have been sending encrypted messages for the last 2 years to come find you. Why the fuck do you think they are there? As the Athena is exiting Federation space, they are unable to get a beat on the shuttle. But Tig Retardo notices something else that you'd assume the computer would find, but doesn't.
Wait, what's this?
Whatever it is, it wasn't there the last time we scanned this area.
They might as well have been out here in a Cessna if their systems couldn't detect that shit. At this point, the Athena's computer is about as useful as a GPS app on a phone that's been disconnected for about 10 years.
We could all use a little help on the highways and byways of life.
Even further evident by the fact that they are just now picking up life forms in the airlock.
There are 2 life signs in there.
Since the stowaways need to be named characters of at least minor significance, it's of course Jaden Smith and Tarima, who somehow faked out the hyper-advanced life support system by depressurizing the compartment they were in. Which, as we all know in the vacuum of space, is just not a big deal at all. Nala is understandably pissed, as would be the Digital Dean, since we know full goddamn well these two weren't fucking in there. Which, as we were told at the beginning of the episode, is not only encouraged, but damn near required. Hito Rick would be so disappointed in you guys.
Are you kidding me? What is wrong with you two? Explain yourselves. Actually don't. No.
But now the body count is up in a different way, and neither of them are all that useful in this or any situation for that matter.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
Back at Soka University, Anisha wants to get Caleb and crew out, but knows it will be super sus, even though they walked right through the marketplace with no issues earlier. Well, except for her attacking them. And because there hasn't been enough contrivances in this episode already, she happens to have a part which is almost what they need, and they are able to retrofit it with that programmable matter bullshit.
Couldn't they have just done this to the one on the ship?
Briefly checking in on the Athena, everything is status quo. Nobody can get a hold of anyone, and there's absolutely no updates. Kind of like dealing with an insurance company. With the necessary part in hand, the cadets prepare to leave. Well, everybody but Caleb, who proceeds to run everyone down about how much he hates them in order to get them to just go.
Fuck you, you're cool. Fuck you, I'm out.
What did you expect?
I don't know, maybe some character growth. This is a television show after all. They all make some very half-hearted attempts to change his mind, but then all just accept that Caleb has made his decision.
I'm so full of shit.
And off they go, back through the market that earlier posed no threat at all, so this should be nice and—
Drop your hands! Identify yourselves!
So it turns out that pirates and smugglers aren't as dumb as they look, and parking a Federation shuttle behind a bush somewhere isn't enough to keep it from being discovered. Because capturing some college kids that for all they know just need some directions is the biggest news to hit this shithole in decades, they make a huge announcement.
3 Federation spies have been captured.
Caleb is understandably concerned, but Anisha just says fuck him. The cadets are all questioned, but due to these being the most chivalrous scumbag criminals of all time, they only want to hit Darum, even if he's not the one talking.
We're not spies.
You've got to listen.
Don't interrupt me.
Caleb and Anisha, who have absolutely no reason to be over here, by the way, see what's happening and try to bullshit out of the situation. And it almost works until Darum's comm badge goes off, letting everyone know that the Athena has arrived. But before they can get the hell out of there, someone notices who the fuck Anisha is and everything goes tits up.
Wait, I know you.
As the locals engage in a mostly peaceful protest, the Athena drops out of warp and attempts to retrieve the cadets.
This is a flex!
Seriously, just shut the fuck up, please. Enough with the goddamn 21st centuryisms.
As everyone else scatters, a guy who should be dead on the ground pops up and shoots at Anisha, who takes it on the chest just as they're all beamed up. Surprisingly, EMH actually follows real triage rules as he addresses Darum's broken nose before turning to practically revive Anisha from the dead, as Tig Retardo throws them back into warp to get them away from UCLA. But as we've discovered since the J.J. Abrams movies, warp is a useless way to escape as they're tracked by multiple Venari Rawl and a torpedo which knocks them off course, shutting down a majority of the ship's systems in the process. It is truly amazing how every single time a woman woman is piloting this thing, it gets fucked up. The Venari Roll surround them and the computer informs the crew that they have 30 seconds before structural collapse. So Nala does the smart thing by ordering the saucer be detached and thrown into warp. Because apparently when the integrity of your ship is compromised, it's clearly only ever the non-essential parts. For some strange reason, the Venari Roll don't immediately chase the saucer, and Nala seems a bit perturbed that they are currently pillaging the ass half that she just left behind.
He's not keeping my ship. This isn't over.
Nala is about to leave the bridge when Tig Retardo tells her that the sensors seem to be inexplicably able to detect Omega mines now, and it's picking up a metric fuckton of them. Turns out our friend Noose Braca has been as busy as he is hammy and surrounded the entire Federation with these things. You heard that right, he has surrounded nearly 8,000 light years worth of three-dimensional space with mines. You'd think this task would be impossible to do undetected, and that assumption would be correct. There is zero fucking chance he could pull this off.
I beg to differ. Happy Gilmore accomplished that feat no more than an hour ago.
Because of this insanely impractical and convoluted plot device chain, they are unable to get back within the borders, effectively cutting them off from Starfleet. And that it was never Noose's plan to attack. His intention was always to get them to recall all of the ships to place a box around them. But if you think about it for more than 5 seconds, you'll soon realize that this means he set up all of these mines in the last couple of hours.
Bullshit!
As it would have been impossible for the Athena to leave or the Federation to bring the fleet back through his barrier had he set them up any sooner. With Anisha revived, she is brought to see Nala, where her reaction is what you'd expect.
Hello, Miss Mare.
At the same time, Tig Retardo fails to reach anyone on the other side of the wall, and everything fades to black. Hey there, dangerous and violent criminal. Are you currently sitting on death row with a scheduled execution date quickly barreling down upon you? Want to maximize what precious little time you have left and make every day seem just that much longer? Well, boy, do I have the solution for your incarcerated ass. Introducing the federal legislation for odious programming. The first nationally sponsored service clinically proven to make your days seem like an eternity as you wait to meet your maker. How does it work? Well, after extensive research, we here at Flop have figured out how to apply Einstein's theory of relativity to everyday life by strategically using the worst TV shows imaginable to artificially make every single minute of your life feel like it goes on forever. Television so bad, almost every single series was canceled after 1 season. Will this technically extend your life? No, but it sure as shit will feel like it. So much so that you'll be begging for the sweet release of death and may actually give yourself a lethal injection just to end it. So talk to your attorney, court-appointed counselor, or warden and extend every moment as if it was your last, because truthfully, it might just be. The finale opens up with Anisha having a Vietnam flashback of the first episode.
You will be placed in a rehabilitation camp.
It's kind of crazy when you realize that this show is still trying to make the argument that despite the person being murdered, Anisha is completely innocent because of her single motherhood or something. Since she wasn't expecting her arch nemesis to come waltzing around the corner, she reacts like any sane and collected individual would.
You're just recovering.
No! No! No!
Tig Retardo lets Nala know that she was somehow able to get a hold of Vance through the barrier. How exactly? No idea. Guess they have Verizon.
Can you hear me now? Good.
Nala tells Anisha that if the circumstances were different, she'd give her a ship, but on this day, they need her help. So she takes this obviously disturbed and violent woman to the place where they all seem to end up on this show, the bridge. It's here that we get yet another repetitive conversation about how the Athena is the only ship that's outside of the wall, so we could just skip this whole section. As Vince and Laura's data plan runs out, they begin breaking up, and just as they give us the only 2 pieces of information we actually needed from all of this. The first being that Noose Braca is forming a coalition of non-Federation systems, a confederacy if you will. Also that the minefield is controlled by a single deep space signal. Anisha lets them know that there's likely a failsafe and that they shouldn't fuck with it because it might trigger a detonation.
No shit.
EMH then chimes in to let them know that they're all fucked. And not just because their engine has blown a head gasket like a 1998 Ford Taurus. I know this from personal experience. But also because the Venari Rawl have arrived. Nala calls for a red alert for no fucking reason, seeing as everybody on board is already in the room. They take evasive maneuvers, but since they're half a ship with a busted transmission and 4 bald tires, they start getting pounded by lasers and torpedo fire.
Maintain power to shields. If they drop, he'll scan us and Braca will know he's up against a skeleton crew.
You know, I'm gonna give Arnold a break on this one and do it myself. No shit. Of course you're gonna keep the shield up. Nala orders Tig to take all of the cadets to Airlock B and hide them, because, I mean, not like they can be useful or anything. No, instead of having the cadets who at least have some experience with the equipment help, Nala orders Anisha over to the tactical panel. That's right, she just put a person who hates her guts and wants her dead in one of the single most important positions on the bridge during a crisis that could get them all killed. But it's fine, they're besties now.
You're gonna need a reason to be outside of Federation space. A reason that Braca will believe.
Like that fucking matters at all. I don't think that Noose gives a shit why you're here. Because I'm sure he's just gonna believe that you guys were meeting for brunch. Anisha follows this up by saying that if anything happens to her precious little boy, she'll kill Nala, which I really hope she's not bluffing on.
If anything happens to your son, you'll be doing me a favor.
Take places everyone in the airlock and explains how to stay undetected.
Remember, tiny sips of air. You may feel dizzy or off balance as the air pressure is rising.
Not sure if oxygen deprivation is a good idea at this point, considering the fact that these assholes are already half brain dead. Caleb embraces Jaden Smith, since apparently everyone's forgotten about the previous episode and that this dude flat out disrespected Klingon traditions. They just pretend that he went through with it and they're bonded brothers now. That shit's blood in, blood out, motherfucker.
You ain't black.
Caleb also attempts to apologize to Genesis, but she just tells him that he's wasting his breath, which is a more expected reaction. The shields immediately fail, which allows Noose and his crew to take the bridge.
Was always gonna be me in this chair.
It seems that the longer this show goes on, the more Paul Giamatti chews the scenery. Cause he's just here gnawing away. Honestly, I can't explain it in any way to do him justice, so here's just a compilation of the lines he says during this scene.
Can it be? My two best gals? Well, you're alive! Like Lazarus! Nothing to say? You were awfully chatty when I busted you out of prison 2 years ago. You practically sang the Pledge of Allegiance. What are the only two people in the universe who hate each other more than they hate me doing together? Is this like an enemy of my enemy thing? Enemies-in-law? Hey, I just coined that. That's funny. Somebody write that down.
It's almost as if he doesn't have a script and is just saying whatever the fuck he wants and no one has the balls to tell him to stop.
Come on, guys, I made a funny laugh! I made a funny!
Noose is dubious as to whether or not this is the entire crew, but Nala convinces him that she didn't want to risk anyone else's life coming out here to find Anisha.
Boy, that trauma loop must really be working on you.
He gets close and questions as to why she would go through all of this for a family that hates her so much, and then has the ship scanned again to find out that the warp core is breached. Which, if you recall, is the exact same thing they used in episode 1 to trick him. But at least now it's believable, especially after Tig Retardo explains the situation.
Pounded our hull with torpedoes. We're pretty screwed.
You? I don't like at all.
This character truly is my spirit animal. He then takes Anisha and Nala prisoner, but for some stupid reason allows the latter to say some final words.
Leap clear of all that is corporeal, and make yourself greater.
Literature. Quelle sophistication.
Which is of course a coded message on what to do in this scenario. But there was no reason for Braca to even allow this. At best, you've given your sworn enemy a chance to speak her mind and clear her conscience. Which kinda defeats the purpose of all of this, but at worst you give her a chance to do exactly what she just did. Noose then takes his two new bitches and fucks off. But what was it that Nala was babbling about? Well, it turns out it's some bullshit called Hermes 19, an experimental program that, you guessed it, is perfect for this exact situation.
What a coincidence!
One that, according to Tig Retardo, has never been tested and EMH just happens to have on him currently.
Gently. I've had it for almost 1,000 years.
You've had this for a millennium and it's never been used once. Weren't you even just the least bit curious? No? Okay, well, nothing like a field test during a crisis, I guess. EMH is drawn into the computer and Tig attempts to save what's left of the Athena. But it locks up, unable to move, and with no shield, everyone dies in a blaze of mediocrity. Yes! Oh, how I wish it were that simple, but seeing as how there's about 40 minutes left in the episode, it turns out we aren't out of the shit-covered woods just yet. No, what we actually saw was a projection of the ship being destroyed. A ruse, as fake as the moon landing itself. The students are all brought back to the bridge and given assignments as EMH reemerges spouting nonsense.
Reuben will tango parrot chews to the mango patch. Use more glue.
Or maybe he's just reading a synopsis of the entire season. It's hard to tell. For the sake of time and everyone's sanity, let's go rapid fire for a bit, shall we? Shit that's wrong with the ship. Pretty much everything. Warp core leaking, 2/3 of it's missing, and a crew full of retards. Also, no idea how to find Noose or disable the mines without turning them into, well... Speaking of Noose, he, Nala, and Anisha are currently in the atrium where Braca has somehow gotten fucking C-SPAN coverage for a kangaroo court where he's holding Nala trial for the crimes of the entire Federation. He has brought together representatives from every single non-Federation world because I guess none of them have anything better to do than to watch this woman get tried for tyranny, genocide, and jaywalking. Or, you could just kill her.
I have a gun in my room. You give me 5 seconds, I'll come back down here. Boom! I'll blow their brains out.
You just don't get it, do you?
He then proceeds to give a rousing speech about his shitty childhood on a mining colony.
Everything we needed. Food, water, medicine, every part of the galaxy. They never stopped us. We tried to stop them. We shut up flares. Pushed my poor father to his limit. He rigged up a weapon. Crude, but he wanted to take down one of those life-saving ships. And he missed. Oh, and in response, the Federation strafed us with missiles.
Funny enough, in the first episode, this same dude told us that his father was a pirate and he wanted to be just like him. But up to this point, we've seen hundreds of instances of complete lack of internal consistency, so what's one more? And honestly, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because nothing's gonna stop him from gorging on this all-you-can-eat scenery buffet, as he blames the Federation for everything from starving children to Rachel Zegler's career, and plans to hit the restart button with the Omega-47 mines effectively recreating the burn. Back on the magic short bus, Miss Frizzle is attempting to get everyone to stop bickering long enough to not die. She then asks Caleb if he was able to isolate the frequency to override the mines yet. He of course has, because he could do anything, and being off screen we didn't even need to see a bullshit justification. But in order to make use of it, they will need to get close to the origin point. So first things first, they're gonna need to fix those warp cores. Luckily they have Caleb and a lesbian here. And as we know, these are the two most powerful entities when it comes to being able to get the job done without the proper equipment.
You can never be a lesbian.
No fair.
Also, Genesis has given command of the bridge, so she finally gets that triumphant moment of sitting in the captain's chair.
Wait. I think I have to pee.
This show can't even take life or death situations seriously for more than 30 seconds. This is actually not exclusive to this series. For about 15 years or so, there's been an epidemic of improper placement of comedic moments during dramatic scenes. A trend that started with the MCU, but Starfleet Academy has boldly gone where no one wanted it to and taken this shit to levels previously thought unattainable. Here we have a character whose one and only goal this entire season has been to sit in the captain's chair. It is her life-defining event, and they couldn't let it be. The word assemblers just had to throw in a dumb potty joke. Well, after that affront to the art of script writing, we rejoin Noose, who has officially commenced the trial. First by pressing Nala about the time the Federation rained red hellfire down on his people, something which there is no historical records of according to Nala. Noose then proceeds to run down the Federation as just being the beneficiaries of themselves being the winners who wrote the history, and how they were clearly stockpiling Omega-47 to keep people under the boot of Starfleet. Though Nala insists that it was for a different reason.
We were trying to create a new power source.
This makes absolutely no sense at all. In the previous episode, you mentioned how along with the commandeered Omega particles, Noose got his hands on experimental time delay devices which were clearly used to create the mines that now surround the Federation. So basically what's being suggested here is that a space pirate in a mere 3 months was able to reverse engineer tech, retrofit it to weapons of mass destruction, and then produce enough of them to box in nearly 10% of the galaxy.
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Anyway, Noose believes that he's a liberator, but Nala reminds him that liberators usually free hostages, not detain them. She then somehow turns this whole thing on its ass and starts extracting info out of Braca.
What did you mine?
Strontium. We signaled the Federation that we wanted to trade.
The shuttles we deployed went to the planets with the worst humanitarian crises. We had to make hard choices. If you had strontium, you had something. There were worlds that some of them just needed body bags.
And justifies leaving a mining colony starving because they had strontium, which is inedible. So about as helpful as telling a person who can't breathe that they'll be okay because there's people who can't walk.
You guys suck!
Let's check back with Caleb and Tig Retardo, so rapid fire again. Caleb is distracted by everything with his mother and also thinks that he sucks at helping people. Tig tells him that no, you helped everybody back at the University of Southern California. And most people would have just let their friends die in that situation, so you must be good at helping people. Then the warp drive is magically fixed because of confidence or love or some bullshit. Since Noose can sense that he's losing the room, he turns to the only other person present who hates Nala as much as he does, Anisha, who has Nala explain all of the events from the beginning of the show again. Just this time in the most negative way possible.
You tracked my son down like a dog. Why didn't you track me down?
We tried. We didn't know where you were. You escaped from prison.
What did you expect me to do?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative. It's crazy that after 10 fucking episodes, they are still trying to push the narrative that Anisha did nothing wrong. Bitch, you were an accomplice in a murder. This wasn't unpaid parking tickets. Anisha then makes the bold claim that because Nala didn't resign in the middle of her duty all the way back when, it was just performative when she decided to do it later out of shame, and therefore meaningless. So she looks forward to dancing on Nala's grave. If dodging accountability was a sport, this See You Next Tuesday would win the goddamn World Cup. News calls for a recess for no apparent reason, as there's no jury to deliberate or any legal channels to go through. It's really just so they have an excuse to cut back to EMH, who's still talking gibberish, and have eyebrows suggest to anal beads that they do some technical mumbo-jumbo, triggering an argument.
Did you come down here to be a hero or something?
Why would you say something like that?
Before I left for Cask, you were the hero. And I was always just following you around like a puppy.
As the cat fight occurs, EMH starts blabbering about glue on shoes, which gives them all the clue that's needed to figure out how to stabilize the Omega particles. 'Cause why not? Just to test if this hypothesis could even work, Tig has the computer run hundreds of simulations, which these morons who are pressed for time sit and watch one after another after another. You would think that a super advanced computer such as this would be able to calculate all of these quickly and not have to show you each individual outcome.
It all goes boom, destroying everything.
Running mind stability simulation. Concentration 67.976%.
But you'd be wrong. After proving that it can work, they still have the little issue of not being close enough to connect to Braca. But let's not forget that we have fucking Jean Grey on the goddamn ship, who does some crazy mental BS to locate Anisha and therefore finding Noose.
That was easy.
But even though she found them, according to Tarima, she didn't find them enough, because she doesn't have the exact coordinates. This is some highly unreliable fucking telepathy. But as if it was placed by someone who doesn't understand that convenience is not a good writing mechanic, there's a perfect hiding spot for them to sit in the system and keep searching for the exact spot. One thing that no one seems to think of is the fact that Braca is literally broadcasting out to the entire galaxy. You'd think at least one person would realize they could track that signal. But who are we kidding? These retards couldn't find water if they fell out of a boat.
Sir, I don't understand.
That's glaringly apparent.
Noose has officially reached the sentencing phase of his convoluted plan. And just as he's about to achieve his life goal of destroying Nala and the Federation, this asshole does the exact same shit he did earlier and lets her speak for no reason.
You made it possible for Noose Braca to board a Federation ship.
It was a supply ship.
The pilot was Lieutenant Akamu Lee. He was originally from Sol 3, Earth, a place called Hawaii. We served together. He wore this long braid. All his kids wore the braid as well. That supply ship was supposed to be his last rotation. You altered the lives of Akamu Lee's children, too. You altered your son's life. We all have to live with it.
Anisha looks as though she might be finally taking some accountability, but instead she just declares that Nala is guilty, much to Braca's delight.
You still think I'm the monster that took your son?
Yes, I do.
Nala Ake is guilty.
The Federation is guilty! The people have spoken and they are pissed!
Just as the punishment is about to be delved out, they're interrupted by some lackeys who inform them that a shuttle is arriving. One with just a single passenger, Caleb, claiming asylum. He enters the atrium because it's his turn to fill the runtime with a long speech as he tells his mother about his time with Starfleet.
Mom, I would ask, in this moment, for you to listen.
Nope! I'm never wrong! Guilty!
You always told me to look up at the stars. You said the infinity that's out there, the same one was in here. I never understood that until Starfleet. I know it's a betrayal. I felt that every day, but the Academy kept pushing me until for the first time in my life I realized I have something to offer. I never knew that before. I can be part of a community. I have to tell you, I've laughed more in the past year than I have in my entire life.
Change the channel, Marge!
Noose just chalks this up to brainwashing, but Nala uses it as an opportunity to refute Braca's hypothesis by using science properly for the first time in this whole goddamn show.
Was exochemistry one of your classes at the Academy?
Yes.
Tell me about strontium.
It's a fuel source. Cheap, but lethal. If strontium hits anything volatile, it explodes.
Like a buildup of toxic oxides in an atmosphere.
Yes.
What color does strontium burn?
Red.
Noose said the Federation rained red hellfire on his colony.
That's impossible. Federation weaponry, Federation fire has always been blue or green.
Since now that it's official that Noose ain't no shit about fuck, all of the systems that were pissed at the Federation are just over that shit and bounce, leaving Braca alone and desperate enough to just blow everyone up. But wouldn't you know it, this was all just one huge distraction so Sam, who apparently calculates at a snail's pace now, could disable the signal and cut Noose off from the mines.
There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom!
Well, with Braca's embarrassing public display of performance anxiety preventing the explosive climax he had hoped for, I guess he'll just have to settle for killing Nala since there's really no one who can stop him. Wait a minute! You're telling me that the barrier's been down for a total of 8 goddamn seconds and these motherfuckers are already here? Seriously? Okay, how the hell did the entire fleet get here so damn fast? Even if they got a tip hours prior that the wall was gonna be gone, it literally happened less than a minute ago. Somehow all of these ships got fully staffed, ready, the proper coordinates punched in, went into warp, and got here in less time than it would take to actually push the fucking button on the control panel. Warp speed is not teleportation. We know this from years of Trek, but even if we didn't, they have shown it in this very show multiple goddamn times. This is so stupid, I don't think I need to explain it any further. Anyway, the Atrium is boarded and the Venari Rawl are arrested as Anisha and Nala take turns punching Noose in the face because violence is always the answer so long as it's towards an unattractive man. After this, they give the Athena a Brazilian butt lift by reattaching her ass half, and she rejoins the fleet no worse for wear. With the semester concluded, all that's left is the ceremony on Beta Z, which Caleb would rather do community service than attend. Why? Well, because they plan to have meat like a human for once.
Yeah, but don't they make you use like 10 different forks?
This makes Nala realize that etiquette should be a year 1 course. He then goes to speak with Anisha, who for some reason isn't back in prison. This bitch is the fucking Michael Phelps of dodging accountability. She explains that she wishes he'd drop out but know that he won't, but that she's proud of him either way. After a quick catch up with the rest of the assholes known as the cast, we hear a voiceover from Caleb explaining that this is his first cadet's log. And seeing as how this show just got shit canned, it might very well be his last. Which seems pretty fitting considering nothing of value occurred in the 12 plus hours of screen time we just witnessed. Holy fucking shitballs, it's finally over. I never have to watch this landfill of cow dung ever again. If I told you that this was the single most draining video I have ever done, would you believe me? It's not a fucking surprise that this show is being cancelled. Even if you excluded the fact that absolutely no one gave a shit about it, you would still be left with an incoherent mess that lacks any internal, external, or existential consistency. You know, for a show that is so character-focused, there's nearly no development for any of them. It goes without saying that Sam has been annoying since the very first episode. Considering she's a hologram who could change her appearance at will, she might as well have taken the form of a large fast-forward button because it's exactly what you want to do every time she appears on screen. What's worse is they actually had a chance to course correct during episode 8 when she was turned into Sam 2.0. They could have easily written off that her previous irritating personality was because she was essentially a toddler in an adult body. But not only did she retain all of the memories from her previous version, her persona barely changed at all. Just now, rather than an abstract authority halfway across the galaxy to disobey, she instead had a father figure. It was like they reset her to factory defaults to undo bugs in the software and then just used the same fucking code again but expected a different outcome, which only served to render that entire episode pointless as nothing was accomplished.
Whatever.
She's not the only one who keeps undoing progress, by the way. Darum seemingly every other week has a breakthrough moment where he fundamentally changes, becoming a less selfish and better overall person, only for it to be completely forgotten by the time the credits roll. It's as though he's stuck in a tutorial mission learning the basics of being a decent guy, but forgets to save his progress and has to keep repeating it. He's been shown as the antithesis of Caleb, consistently screwing up and letting his failures be his teacher, as opposed to being perfect at nearly everything and only falling short when it really doesn't matter to the plot. But that only works if you maintain consistency between episodes. They've also for some reason made him into the butt monkey of the story by adding a bunch of retarded shit about his species like vomiting glitter, which only serves as a reminder that this entire season we have only seen his actual form one time. There was a whole ass episode taking place on his home world and not a single person was in fish form with no explanation whatsoever, which only leaves us to assume that they scrapped it because it was too expensive to continuously do CGI for him to switch between. Seeing as how I've covered nearly every single major character, no, not you, you're just a bitch. Genesis is probably the most wasted of all of them. She's the daughter of an admiral. We know this because she never shuts the fuck up about it. But other than that, what else is there really?
Jack and shit.
and Jack left town.
She's competitive, she might have the hots for Caleb. They really don't explore her at all, which is a shame because being a disappointment to her father and trying to prove herself could yield some interesting stories. Or at minimum, better interactions. Hell, we never even see her dad, which makes no sense in a world where you can project holograms of yourself in real time. A simple change like making Vance into her father could have added layers to her one and only plot thread instead of this faceless boogeyman that is her absentee dad. Actually, come to think of it, this show really hates paternal figures. Caleb didn't know his father, Jaden was abandoned by not one but two of them, and Durham has said multiple times that he has a bad relationship with his fish daddy. The only positive male role model isn't even an organic being, and even he was really shitty to begin with, requiring a woman to steer him in the right direction. It's almost like this entire show has an axe to grind with men and wants to glorify single motherhood, or in Jaden's case, cuckery.
Moving on.
As previously stated, Durham's fish form or lack thereof is a telltale sign of budgetary pitfalls. But it's not the only one. Literally out of nowhere, seemingly every makeup or special effects heavy character just vanishes. Laura Thok, the goddamn second in command, isn't anywhere to be found for almost 1/3 of the series. By the time we get to the finale, we're practically only left with the humans or those nearly indistinguishable from them. Which is crazy when you think of the fact that the first time we saw the campus, it was teeming with species from all over the galaxy. And I personally find this hilarious because it unintentionally implies that despite the stance of the Federation, there is a clear bias between the species based on appearance. And the word assemblers have unknowingly created a segregated college where people only hang out with those who look like them. So I think it's safe to say that this franchise has officially dethroned Star Wars as being in the worst possible hands. Sure, they're both fucked beyond belief, but at least Disney somehow accidentally falls ass first into something decent from time to time. Star Trek, on the other hand, has been bastardized in such a way that it's completely unrecognizable, run by people who clearly hate the IP. And even though there is an abundance of incompetence behind it, that is not purely what is in play here. There is some legitimate anger and malice involved, where people are actively destroying something simply to stick it to those who love it, making them witness the slow destruction of that which they held so dear, co-opted for the torturous whims of these sadists masquerading as Hollywood creatives. It's like when your little sister used your G.I. Joes for a tea party, just on a massive multi-billion-dollar scale. It's rather telling to watch a studio burning investor money on this vanity project that not only did nobody ask for, but no one even fathomed that you could put in such an insane request. And for what? To achieve such a low view count that it doesn't even qualify for your own streaming service's top 10? Yet sum the fuck how everyone involved is still convinced that season 2 will happen. But don't be surprised when that gets Batgirled into oblivion before it can be released, because after the WB deal, Paramount really needs the tax write-offs. And if that doesn't convince you that I am ridiculously goddamn happy that I no longer have to cover this dumpster fire full of human excrement, I don't know what to tell you.